이것이 하늘의 검!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 2016 League of Legends KeSPA Cup. We're coming back after a heartbreaking loss for the Afreeca Freaks. After coming back from a deficit early on, Mickey looked unstoppable until he was twice in a row. And after those two kills on the Freaks carry, MVP charged up mid lane for a win in game number 1, and that'll take us here to game number 2, which will be coming up momentarily. And I mean, aside from don't die, Mickey, what other advice would you give to the Freaks who actually looked pretty strong there towards the end?
I think they did look really strong, and honestly, it was like the situations in which Mickey got caught were pretty unexpected. It's not even like you can really blame him for it. He wasn't moving through the jungle without vision. He wasn't base checking a brush or anything. It was Poppy max range flashing and locking him up against a wall the first time, and then the second time, I guess maybe you could be a little bit less lenient, but they were probably feeling really panicked at that point.
Exactly. Now let's head into picks and bans for game number 2. MVP, of course, up one map with an Olaf ban to start things off.
Yeah, and last time around they did ban Olaf, Ryze, and Jhin. And there's the Nidalee ban from Afreeca.
Okay, just cross that one off the list. You're going to have to cross off the Syndra ban here pretty soon. If MVP don't just opt to leave it up and force that ban out of the Freaks.
Give it a little bit of respect, though.
Yeah, nice to see. No more Victor for Mickey. And we'll see what they deny for the second ban on the Freaks.
Now, Afreeca was the one to ban Syndra last time. And so we're going to see now also if Ian can play Syndra, and I don't know what is actually happening.
Blue side Syndra bans, man.
It's honestly, there's nothing to say about it other than the fact that it's unacceptable, because Syndra has been public now for about 2 months. And it's
not like it's a mystery.
Right. There's no mystery in playing her. She is undisputedly the best mid lane champion right now. She is extremely oppressive. There's almost no recovery against her. And she synergizes so well with so many junglers right now. It's pathetic to not have her in your champion pool.
Well, maybe it's not about the champion pool. They just got to take it out. I don't know. Either way, there's the Syndra ban and there's the Karma ban. So no love for either mid lane pick that we saw last game. And that's going to take us through the ban phase into our first picks. MVP, of course, on the blue side will get that first pick. We'll see what they give to who. A chance to see Ashe versus Caitlyn. Now it looks like we might see an Aatrox. Okay, no, it's not gonna be Aatrox. We're not going quite that deep into it. Looking to see what this is locked in. I think a Jhin much more likely to get locked there for MVP.
So first pick Jhin, definitely not bad by any means, and doesn't give away too much about their team composition. But how is Afreeca gonna want to play this now?
Well, there's always the opportunity to secure a strong jungler for Songhwan. They kind of were at a deficit to Beyond's Elise, so it would make sense to take that away.
Yeah, and Ryze and Elise.
Wow, the Ryze, though, if that is locked in, it would be our first Ryze of the tournament so far. A champion that has seen its strong and unbearably weak points and unbearably strong points. It seems to yo-yo back and forth, but right now, is that Ryze really a strong enough pick to just grab right off the bat?
Yeah, I think that Ryze is still one of maybe the top 5 mid lane champions right now, although there is a possibility that it could actually be put up into top lane. You know, yesterday we had Khan, who is known for his top lane Ryze, and he's extremely high up in the Korean solo queue ladder, and honestly there's no reason really that Ryze couldn't go top, and traditionally he was a mid-top flex.
That is very true. Now, those times have kind of come and gone, but it might be back again. We'll see where the Freaks want to place that. 2 more lock-ins for MVP, picking up the Malzahar, as well as a Rek'Sai for Beyond.
So they pick up Malzahar, Rek'Sai, so definitely a lot of control inside of this team composition, but this team comp already, it looks to have a very big windup. So almost a complete polar opposite team comp from the last one that they just ran, which was a Karma comp, sort of like a Protect the Caitlyn. This one definitely already completely different from that.
And for the Freaks, they've always been known for their all-out aggression. Maybe Rise adds that see hero, kill hero mentality to the team. And of course, Ash Arrow picks or Thresh hooks or Cocoons, setting up for a very strong pick comp here on the Freaks.
Yep. And looks like Thresh. And this is a champion that actually started to show up a little bit more lately. And he was completely absent from the meta. And you really have to wonder, why is he starting to continue to pop up? Because he was completely absent from Worlds. And even prior to that, in LCK Summer, he was not really getting that much love. So Thresh's resurrection is a little bit surprising lately.
Now, Snowflower was always a player who could play the champion very well, along with Bards, so might see that. I mean, we've already gotten a chance to see some Bards out here, of course, not yet there. But either way, it's going to be 2 more picks here, possibly a Tom Kench, really to just alleviate being so vulnerable to that heavy pick comp that Freaks are drafting. It's going to get locked in, as well as a Poppy for Ed.
Yeah, and if you're Afreeca, I don't really know what the last pick's going to be. They have a Trundle Hover. Trundle wouldn't be particularly bad.
It's Linderang's best champion along with Shen. I think those are really his 2 big power picks to go to. Haven't seen Shen in quite a while. Of course, his Trundle looks super solid, so wouldn't be surprised to see that locked in as their final pick. Waiting until the last second to make that happen. Most likely going to get locked in.
And, I mean, so if we're looking at these team compositions right now, MVP's team comp, it does have a lot of late game potency. Jhin and Malzahar, they never stop scaling, likewise with Poppy. But the problem for me is that they kind of have 3 losing lanes in a way. And so a lot of this is going to be on Beyond to sort of find a way to escort them through the laning phase. But if Malzahar can hit 6, it gets really scary for Rise in the mid lane. And bottom lane down there, if Jhin hits 6, then it's very easy for him to set up ganks.
I've heard of going beyond the beyond, but since this game will beyond, I want to see if he can keep those losing lanes, or maybe losing a little bit too hard, because certainly if they do, we've already seen them fall further and further behind, and then you never really get to see that scaling. It doesn't matter if you keep scaling after the game's over, because at that point, well, they will have lost, and that'll tie up the series. The Freaks need to do that to keep their tournament hopes alive. During the interview, they asked them, what kind of team, what's your goal as a team? They said to get to finals. They have a long road ahead of them. Let's take a look at our starting lineups. It's Ed, Beyond, Ian, Maha, and Max. Followed up by the Freaks, this is Linderang, Songhwan, Mickey, Sangun, and Snowflower. Those are your 2 teams, so if you want to show them your support, get out there on social media, hashtag MVP win, hashtag AF win, of course, hashtag KeSPA Cup, to let everybody know what you're watching and what they should be watching too. We are going to get into it. Game number 2 between the Afreeca Freaks and MVP should be starting here in just a second, so I'm excited for it. Everybody else is as well. MVP, their goal is just to advance to the next round. The Freaks have their sights set a little bit higher, but which team is going to go on? Can MVP take the 2-0 victory, or are we going to yet another 3-game series? It's been that kind of night, so maybe it's just going to keep continuing. Game number 2 between the Afreeca Freaks and MVP starts right now. Lots of cheers cheering MVP on as they get into their big fan configuration. Neither team really looking for too much right off the bat. This is, of course, the same start that we've seen for most of this tournament so far. MVP on the blue side, the Freaks on the red. setting up for what you said earlier were maybe 3 losing lanes.
Yep. And the mid lane right now, Rise is going to have a very easy time actually punishing Malzahar if he chooses to do so. Thresh and Ash are going to have an ability to basically poke Jin and Tom out, but no real lethality, I don't think, can occur down there. And then obviously Trundle going to have an easy time against Poppy, at least early on.
Certainly looked that way in game number 1. We'll keep an eye on things. It looks like Maha and Max are going to look to take a camp early, whereas Snowflower and Sangyun, they're going to try for the sneaky brush tactics. Looks like at least Snowflower's going forward. They will be scattered out by that ward. Sangyun and Sangyun will be curling around to stop this Krug take from happening, or at least attempt it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, even a Jin and a Tom Kench did not feel safe enough against trying to take that, so that's a little bit surprising for me.
So they won't actually find too much of an experience advantage, but at least for right now, both teams just trying to shove out that dual lane as quickly as possible, get up to that level 2 spike, and interesting to see a Thresh out here. It certainly hasn't been a champion, like you said, that we've seen very much lately. Of course, right now, wow, it's Ian getting pushed out of his lane by Mickey. It's not been a good early game for Malzahar so far. But Mickey piloting that Rise in the mid lane, continuing to keep the pressure on.
Yeah, Malzahar hits the level 2 right now. Malefic Visions comes down. He's trying to reciprocate a little bit of damage.
Keeping the pressure on. It does look like the shove being won by MVP so far. Level 2's hit for both duo lanes, but no aggression off of it.
And right now, as you can just look at Sunghwan, he just did a completely full clear of his left side jungle, and Lindrong feeling pretty safe up there in top lane. Now, one thing though is that Ian probably will get the blue buff. We see also Mickey recalling right now. He's just going to pick up that Tear of the Goddess. But Ian came over and placed a ward, and that was actually enough to offset his recall, and that's pretty painful. Things like this are actually really gigantic this early on.
So what is the most painful thing about just delaying the recall there for Rise? Just the low mana?
Well, Rise's recall, generally he wants to be able to recall just at that timing that you saw, and he could get back to the lane just in time. He has Tear of the Goddess, and he can start stacking it up. The problem for him staying in the lane longer is that obviously he misses out on tier charges, but he doesn't have as much of a reliance on purchasing like dueling or skirmish items because of his base damage. So if Malzahar and Rise both recall at a similar time, it's pretty bad for him because he's just missing out on other factors.
Very true. Well, there's the blue buff handoff. So manaless jungler there for MVP. Handing that off to Ian. Will actually him stay in lane for quite a bit, whereas Mickey still really desperately needing those tier stacks. There's a hook in on Max. Not going to let it happen.
Yep, Tom Kench able to probably diffuse most situations that can happen there in the bottom lane until Ash has that arrow at least, because then it becomes pretty difficult to eat him away from the arrows, the hooks, the plays, and the box.
Okay, well, there's the plays being made in the mid lane. Ian forced to go to flash. The Cocoon will miss. It is actually the turnaround kill from Ian. Now Songwan's going to go down. It's a double for Ian. MVP off to a colossal start.
And speaking about all things that could possibly go wrong, double buff Malzahar with blue buff. That was just absolutely perfect by Beyond. That counter gank was immaculate. And Rise is so far behind right now. And also with that double kill happening, if you take a look at the level advantage right now, Ian's going to hit level 6 and Rise is not going to have it. So there's a very dangerous gank coming up probably in a few moments. But taking a look at this, Mickey and Sunghwan were not on the same page and they weren't able to lock up Ian. And then when Beyond arrives, it was too easy to turn around and give a double kill over to Ian.
Wow, that's where you type in chat, never pick my lane again, man. That is not appropriate, so do not do that, because you do need ganks to maybe come back from this. Here's Ed on the teleport for...
And it looks like they're always trying to make stuff happen, and it's actually really kind of pretty to see, because you don't often see a lot of times teams do this, where they're this active in the first 10 minutes of the game. Not even the Rocks Tigers are really this aggressive this early on, and honestly, Ed, Ian, and Beyond's interactions with each other and how often they swap off lanes and come to each other's lanes is truly actually unique from Korean teams.
Snowflower, speaking of coming to a lane, going mid, waiting for that flash hook opportunity, but not finding it. He'll recall back to base and rejoin the BF Sword empowered Sangyun in their trip down to the duo. Actually, no, he's not. He's going to actually take this opportunity to head back towards mid lane and try to make something happen. Keeping an eye on the rest of the map as Mickey and Ian go up against each other. Ed wanting to maybe disengage that fight after he does get subjugated. He'll trade all of that health and defensive stats over and get it right back once the player's off.
And right now, up in the mid lane, or down in the mid lane, I should say, is we have the Sorcerer Penetration Boots, by the way, on Malzahar first. And this is a little bit weird. This is not normally an itemization path that you'll ever see on Malz, and it's primarily due to the advantage that he did get in the mid lane so early on, because by having these tier 2 boots this early, he's able to make these roams with Beyond that he would otherwise not be able to accompany him with, and they can try to make a lot of plays against Seonghwan, Linderong, and Mickey.
Well, here comes the Smite fight. Seonghwan and Beyond, both with their top laners there to assist them. Both Smites available. Who gets the bread buff? It is going to go over to Seonghwan. Very difficult to steal away from an Elise who can Venomous Bite and Smite at the same time. I feel like there was a song on the League of Legends metal album called, oh, that was Smite and Ignite. My bad. Back to the duo lane after the red buff engagement. Okay, well now we're seeing more in the mid lane and lots of action all across the map. Love to see these kind of scrappy games after our first series where everything was very, very late game. Max gonna pop that gray health to just stay alive for a few seconds longer, losing that trade very, very handily. And that's going to push the MVP support back to base.
Yeah. I think what Max wanted to do is try to get the trade to go off where he could devour him. Because at that point, I wonder if they could have killed Snowflower and then if Maha can actually turn it and finish off Ash. So maybe they were looking for a 2-for-1, but didn't get it, and that's pretty big for Afreeca.
It was a good use of gray health there by Max to try to stay in the fight, but kind of figured it was not really going to go their way. Now, after winning the fight, shoving the wave in, the Freaks duo head back to base once again. And I'm actually really curious to see if Snowflower is going to go back bottom lane or if he's going to continue this excessive Thresh roam. It hasn't really worked out just yet, but it's really cool to see him making those continual trips to other lanes.
Yeah. Well, he did just pick up boots, and he has a pink ward, and this would be the timing where you would let your AD carry go down to bottom lane and just farm out for a little bit. So what you're going to see is you're going to see Thresh move through the blue side jungle, possibly move behind Dragon and try to get some wards in behind the enemy red. And this is a very standard path because if anything does happen inside of the river, or if your mid laner arrives and their mid laner is too far pushed up, there's a lot of opportunities that can exist.
Now, it's an Inferno Drake spawning as our first Dragon of the game. Which team does that really affect the most?
Right now, for the Dragon, it's probably going to be a lot more beneficial for MVP because of the amplification that it would benefit for Malzahar and Jhin. I think it's going to be a lot more than Ashe and Ryze. So both teams definitely do want it. It will help them both out, especially if Seonghwan actually elects to go for the glass cannon on Elise. But I feel like MVP would benefit from it a lot more.
We might see that from Seonghwan. Still waiting to find out exactly what the build is, at least so far. I think the biggest thing that at least we've noticed from the mid lane has been that double kill that gave all that power over to Ian. So now that Ian's the strong player, we saw what Mickey does when he gets ahead. It's Ian's turn to show that. This time it's actually going to be a pretty free and clear Inferno Drake for the Freaks to take that away from an MVP team that would scale so hard off of that.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good pickup for them right now, especially because Ryze, or Mickey, went QSS as the second item, so any sort of bolstering to his stats is definitely going to help because right now he's a little bit compromised in his build because of that anti-Malzahar build.
Ooh. Nice bounce on the dancing grenade. It'll dance on over to Sanghyun after killing a couple of minions. Of course, every minion that it does kill, it gets a little bit stronger. Just done a lot of damage. Not that that actually impacts everything. It's just cool to see it used well. Beyond down to the bottom lane to clear wards, put some pressure on. Keep an eye on this now dragonless pit. Sorry, Beyond, not there in time.
And right now, looks like Beyond is trying to get some maybe vision coverage over on the right-hand side, and unfortunately for Ian, the Sorcerer penetration boots did not work out for him. So he is missing Morellonomicon at a time that he would otherwise have it already.
Yeah, it's a big first item power spike. Beyond now still down here. This time he'll sense out Songhwan with that Tremor Sense. Of course, Songhwan will see him in return with the dying breath of the Wolf Spirit from having smote that. So at this point, lots of control around the lanes, but not a lot of objectives to fight over. So really what's going on during this phase of the game, or is this where we tuck ourselves in a little bit more snugly?
Well, at this point in the game, I mean, it almost looks like Mickey and Songyun want to scale up, but that's a little bit weird because you're giving Jin and Malzahar free scaling, and that's not something that you want.
Oh boy, this is not going to look good, but the turnaround with the suppression. Linderang trying to escape, but he's silenced to death. Ian roaming top lane in the nick of time for the kill.
Yeah, and that was a very, very big pickup. Another kill going on to Malzahar, and he is one of the main carries of this team, the other one being Jin. Poppy getting an assist, and once Poppy has that Sunfire cape, Poppy becomes pretty obnoxious for Trundle to deal with for a little bit.
Turns out flat penetration stats still in the game, still good, especially against the Linderang that's itemized with armor instead of magic resistance. Let's take a look at that roam again.
Yep.
Ghost.
So Ian ghosts pretty far away, and honestly it was pretty good. And Linderang tries to live, but unfortunately not able to get far enough away, and eats that silence from Ian to go down. So Morellonomicon also completed now.
I mean, when you're getting kills after kills just fed on into you, it sounds like a good idea. Get a little bit ahead in the itemization, and now you can see, look at the itemization from Mickey in response. An immediate Quicksilver Sash after getting his 2 mana items. That's a little ahead of schedule just because of that Malzahar pick.
Yep. So Mickey's itemization is a little bit compromised again. His first core item is going to be definitely delayed.
Moving on Beyond there, Songhwan putting out a little bit of damage, but who will be able to take this blue buff? Very important. Smite up for both junglers. This time it will go over to Beyond.
Yep, and I feel like that was actually a much more crucial buff to have won. So credit to Beyond for doing that, whereas last time that he lost the red, it wasn't as bad.
Again, this 1v1, Ed keeps fighting Linderang. Linderang did use the Subjugate. It's run out by now, but continuing to fight losing trades. Maybe Ed will start winning it now that he's got that Sunfire cape completed. But Linderang's certainly not shying away from a fight.
Yep. And, honestly, in this series, I also want to point out that Ed, last LCK Summer, for the majority of the split, he actually had the worst CS at 10 differential. He had some pretty terrible stats, but so far...
Oh man, Max gonna have to pop that Grey Health a little bit ahead of schedule, trying to find something, but the flanks coming in from around behind the turret. Ed and Beyond, they're both there trying to find something. Can they do it? A nice push backwards. The committal, Maha with 1 kill. Can they find a second? They will. It's a double for the MVP AD carry. They're continuing to go through, but that's Linderang able to turn a great kill right back around, taking out Beyond.
Yeah, and that is a 2-for-1 in the end. But certainly still going to benefit MVP. 2 more kills go on to Maha. So all of the carries for MVP are actually getting all of the kills, and that's pretty obnoxious for Afreeca. And we can just take a look at this again. So the Jin ultimate comes out, gets the slows onto Songyun, through the Lantern by Snowflower, but that's not going to do too much. And then Ed brought them both right back into Maha's grasp. They just finalized the kills onto him right there, and that's pretty much it. I mean, they get the reward in killing Beyond, but that's not so much of a victory.
At that point, I mean, his life as a sacrifice to get both of these carries so fed, I mean, you can't really find better places to put all these kills than where they're going on MVP. Yep. We saw what happens when a Victor and Jin get fed in our previous game, our previous series. This time, we're going to see Malzahar and Jin, which both scale incredibly hard as well.
Yep. And if this point. I don't know what Afreeca is going to do in the next few minutes, but I don't feel like they're currently in a position where they're able to actually take the dragon fight. Ian's going to take that blue buff recall, and honestly, he's probably beelining straight to the dragon. And Afreeca, they might be doing a fork right now. And
okay, I'm not sure where Beyond was going. He tried to go in, gets arrowed there as well. He's pushed back behind the turret. The pressure's on, and I'm not sure what the communication was there. Because Beyond went in, went out, went back in, got stunned, went back out, and now they're lower health trying to defend the turret.
Okay, so what I think is going on right here is they acknowledge that the Water Dragon is the next one, which they're deeming useless for themselves and also probably useless for MVP. So what they're trying to do is fork MVP into taking the bottom tier 1 turret and then not really having anything clear-cut to do.
Wow, Ed actually using his ultimate to knock the minions away, so Snowflower's the one to take aggro. He drops it, gives it over to Elise, who will repel to drop it again. A perfect kill there, which will go over to Songyun in the bottom half of the map. It's going to be a turret takedown, responded almost immediately to by that takedown on the top half of the map. But First Blood Gold did go over to MVP.
Yep. And they do pick up the dragon, and it looks like they're going to get the mid-tier 1 turret.
Wow. Really big discrepancy there in advantage. Just now Maha just trying to escape the wrath of Linderang, but turns out that pillar works both ways, and it's actually going to help Maha get away.
Now, Maha definitely wanting a recall. He's been on the map for quite a long time. And now the game's probably going to take a little bit of a reset. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, okay, I'm a little surprised. All right.
How about that reset? That's the caster curse. Hard at work. That's going to be a kill onto Linderang. All right, Ian, the strong gets stronger. And now Max trying to make more happen, but Mickey will be able to escape alive to his turret. MVP keeping the pressure on. Snowflower in the area, but let's take another look at exactly how that happened.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. Okay, that's how it happened.
Yep.
So the suppress from Ian, too much, and then Maha says, hey, do you remember me from just a second ago? As he casts the curtain call. Nice
revenge there, and this time we're going to see one of the rare Rift Heralds we see taken here in the KeSPA Cup. It's going to go down. That power will be added to Ed.
And that is a 19-minute Rift Herald on Poppy.
Just
so basically she has it for the whole game.
Right, yeah, well, unless we get another one of those crazy Longzhu Jin Air series that lasts, an hour and a half.
Yep.
Not quite going that distance.
Oh, and that's actually not gonna, well, I don't know if Songyun's actually gonna be able to get the tower. I don't think she's going to. The problem is they don't have vision right now, so they actually hesitated to going to the turret, so that does end up resulting in a pickup of that tower for Afreeca.
Yep, 350 gold. There's the ghost coming in from Ian. I guess he thought he had a catch there, but does not commit for it.
Yeah, that was actually a little bit weird, because I can't see in any way that he would ever find an execute onto anyone right there. Although he has a very interesting itemization. You can see that they're actually opting in for all of their pen way sooner. So you have the Haunting guys out already on Ian, and you have the Last Whisper complete for Jin.
Yeah,
and
he went
they're just trying to
Blade
accelerate
first as well instead of the traditional Yomus. So what do you think is behind trying to get so much penetration early?
I think that they're just trying to drive these advantages home, because most of the members on Afreeca don't really get to stack that much armor, and they knew that Linderang was actually going for one of the Hydras first.
All right, so a little bit of a break for both of the teams. The break points on items actually coming in here pretty strongly as well. MVP looking extremely strong. They're only 2,000 gold ahead, so even though the items might look really cool, it's not necessarily quite as crazy as it might look. Now, Max actually has a Quicksilver Sash as one of his first completed major items. What do you think is behind that, just wanting that badly to avoid being caught out?
I think one of the things is, like what we saw in the first series tonight, is even if Tahm Kench saves someone, it's not like Tahm Kench himself can't then get knocked up and then they're both dead. So the QSS, I think, is just a testament to how comfortable they feel right now and how far ahead they are. So it's just Max basically saying, like, okay, if you catch one of us, you can't catch me still, so I can always get people to safety.
Yep, And whoa, okay, let's, no, the save, it's coming in, it's real! Max able to save Ian from almost an certain untimely demise. Ed equally incredibly escaping there with his life, Beyond trying to run away as well. The Freaks in hot pursuit, the hook lands on to Beyond. He is out of there. Now it's Ed's turn to try to escape once again, this time less miraculously, and he's the next to fall.
Yeah, and I really just question what is Maha doing during all of this, or why are they on the map in the way that they are, or why are they choosing to separate their champions like this? And oh, Jin. The problem is they just had vision of 4 of the members of Afreeca, and Jin didn't choose to stick around to get that turret, so it's a little bit weird. And oh, wow. Afreeca going for a very sneaky Baron, and that gets snipped out immediately.
I mean, they're going to be able to deal a lot of damage to it, down below half HP. They're going to commit to this, and they're not all making this out alive. Where's the Baron going? It's taken by Songhwan. Immediate flashes over the wall for the disengage. Songyun does go down, so does Linderong, but 3 members of the Freaks survive alive with a Baron buff, or will they? There's Max hunting, sniffing, Beyond going behind enemy lines there. Songhwan missing the cocoon. There's Mickey to try to save something. Repel to keep him alive for a little bit longer. Songhwan lives! Just barely. Now Beyond maybe in a little bit of trouble. Turn around and Beyond will stay alive for at least the time being. What just happened?
Well, that was a lot closer than I thought it would be, and I think Afreeca actually, that was the best case that they could hope for. No Malefic Vision resets right here, and as you can see right there, Maha actually found a way in to hit Songyun, but Ian couldn't get a Malefic Vision reset off onto anyone so that it could just keep endlessly proccing, and Mickey able to just recall instantly. Songhwan almost went down, Beyond with a bit of an uncharacteristic mistake, missing the flash knockup. That would have deleted the Baron buff for Songhwan, just leaving it up on Mickey and Snowflower.
Yeah, man, that save on Songhwan, immaculate, and he will escape. Take us back to live around the Dragon area, almost about to spawn, and maybe setting up for a little bit more aggression if that's what we need. We've already had so much of it. Certainly looking forward to see what we see. Mountain Drake spawning. It's there in the pit. And there are the Freaks right on top of it. They're down 2,000 gold, but unafraid to fight or pressure these objectives. MVP, though, hints are in from both sides to try to push them off. Dragon still engaged, and there's the curtain call to further push the Freaks away. An objective that they will take.
Maha just held the Jin ult as long as possible. That was pretty cute.
Just let a time out there at the end, get some extra cooldown. We did not use all of those charges, and puts enough pressure on to secure that advantage for MVP.
And Afreeca now looking like they want to try to raise the tier 1 mid turret, and honestly that would probably go uncontested given the Baron buff minions, but okay,
well that's not the way that's supposed to work. And I mean, still successful on the disengage, but ultimate that will be on cooldown for now. Red buff being stolen away there, so that's on Songyun.
Rylai's completed 4 Malzahar, by the way. Leandri's probably not that far off. And when he has Leandri's, Trundle, Elise, and Thresh are all just going to completely melt, and the CC just becomes completely obnoxious.
That is going to be a crazy amount of damage. And of course, it's already going to double up the damage, regardless of whether or not they're slowed from Rylai's, when you are immobilized by things like suppression. But now it's Ed's turn to turn it around onto Linderong. Here comes Maha and Max just for moral support. Good disengage there, but the Freaks, they retaliate with a big push up mid to take that mid lane turret.
Yeah, and Baron about to dissipate. 15 seconds left remaining. ADD, or Ed and Linderong having a little bit of a wet noodle fight.
As opposed to a dry noodle fight. And then both noodles break and you're like, well, what do we do? And then you're like, well, why didn't we have a wet one? That's why those happen. In case you guys were wondering, that's your anecdote of wisdom for the day. Now Ian back in the mid lane, like you said, almost to that God mode point, that 3-item power spike. We've been talking about it all really all day long, because we have seen, this is kind of the day of Malzahar. Didn't know if it was still around. Turns out the answer is yes. From both of our best of 3 series, we've seen it come out, and at least this time for Ian, it's working pretty well.
Yeah, and here was that perfectly timed ultimate by Ed. He told Mickey he has a lollipop, and Mickey just got knocked away right there.
Yeah.
That should deal damage, depending on how far they travel.
Well, I mean, then you just like fully, okay, well, I can see kind of like the new Fizz ult.
Yep.
Farther you travel, the more damage it deals. Well, there's the pick on and Beyond. One pick, one catch into another. Beyond trying to survive. He's doing a pretty good job. Another play pulls him right back in, but he's still in there. No, Snowflower ends his life with another sick grab. There's Max for the save. Will he get caught out next? He will, but there's the QSS to keep him in it. That's Mickey overextending. He's going to go down. Song1 very low. Can he survive once again? The slow from the tongue lash coming out. Song1 will drop from Malefic Visions. It resets there onto Snowflower. Continuing to slow him with the Rylai's. More kills coming their way as Maha secures Song1's death. Now Snowflower, you're not making it out of here alive. Tries to hook, tries to play, but it's not his day. Maha with a double.
Yeah, and that is the opposite of what is good for Afreeca, because all the momentum that they had going for them, they just completely lost it right there. And Ed with these ultimates, they've been so on point and so well timed, and honestly, it looked like Beyond was about to get away, but Snowflower with the death sentence, no pun intended, but after that, they just keep moving too far forward, and Mickey's been doing this at certain points in the series where he goes too far forward and then he just gets caught up and trapped, and Maha arrived at the perfect timing to just set up everything right here.
Very, very good play there, and oh, the last second snipe there. No escape for you, Song1. The strong gets stronger, 6-0 for Ian, 5-0 for Maha. Oh boy, we already saw this in the final game of the Jin Air series when the carries get strong. Maybe you're behind and you can come back, but this time MVP's ahead and they're just continuing to snowball this lead. There we finally have the 3-item power spike, 3.5 even for Ian, as he completes that Leandry's Torment, and I don't know, if Mickey keeps aggressively positioning like that, it's looking questionable for Afreeca, who have had that as their loss condition this entire series.
Yeah, and blue buff on Ian right now, and looks like Void Staff will probably be the weapon of choice for Malzahar's 4th item. And remember, Malzahar is one of the few champions in the game that never stops scaling. There's that QSS.
I gotta say, that's actually been extremely effective, allowing Max to reposition effectively even after either getting caught out or saving somebody that is caught out. Doing a lot of saving. Great support there. Max, along with the rest, or at least most of MVP, like we said earlier, scouted out of pretty much obscurity, not a lot of professional competitive experience. They said that they played in Challenger and they really loved it. Came together as a team, and now, well, they have to do that on an entirely different level. They're ahead, but can they secure this Baron? It's down to half HP, knocking Song1 back, but he's going to get lanterned right back in. This Baron is under a lot of pressure. Linderang, though, goes down. It's Ed to take him out. The Baron's still going lower and lower. Song1 trying to get in, but he can't. And in the end, it's Maha that'll take that Baron out. But the turnaround might be real here, as MVP are very low HP. Snowflower very low there. Mickey will get knocked backwards. He's trying to turn this one around, but it's a huge ultimate for Maha. Oh my gosh, turning that into a 5-for-0 and a Baron. MVP crushing Afreeca at the Baron, Bob.
Oh, and that probably is going to be the game. They might actually be able to end here. They don't have a teleport onto a minion, but they have a Jin who does a lot of damage to turrets, and he has a red buff. Don't know if this is going to be the game. There's 8 seconds on Linderang, and MVP's actually, or Beyond is not actually with the team, and neither is Ed. So they're just choosing to actually separate and take multiple advantages all across the map. Not necessarily a bad choice. They might have been able to get one Nexus turret if they were all together, but they took a much safer route. And
watch this again. Yeah. MVP continue to stay on the Baron. Ed with another great ult to knock Song1 away. But what really turns this fight around?
Well, Ian's ultimate onto Linderang and just completely removing him from the fight basically meant that Afreeca didn't have a reliable tank. And Mickey missed his assassination onto Ed right there, and then at this point, it was between a rock and a hard place for Afreeca. Maha just getting all the kills everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
It was too painful.
Those captive audiences, the flowers that spawn either when somebody dies or when you explode a trap, those are what look so cool, but you never really expect them to actually be that useful. When you get that many kills, they're all just exploding everywhere, and of course Maha did a great job at exploding the freaks that time around. Ed, no, you can't stop the recall. He's gonna get out of there safely for now, and after game one was kind of the story of how strong can Mickey really get. This time around, it's how strong can Ian really just continue to carry his team. And Maha, after cleaning that fight up, turns out janitor duty is a pretty well-paying job. Here we go, trying to get a nice teleport catch onto Ian, an immediate flash, completely countering it out. And now maybe a turnaround, some punishment here. Ian coming around the wall, silence there onto Mickey. He and Spawn might be in a little bit of a rough spot, but it's Max and Maha continuing to go forward. Maha down to half health. The damage going there onto Maha. Look at that shit ult, so much damage. Snowflower flashing away. Where's the last hit? Gonna give it over to Ed. Of course, on the bottom half of the map, it's Ian to help out with more kills. It's a double for him, and with deaths coming in, this is going to be the win for MVP. They won game one. They're crushing game number two. That will be the number of, okay, well, they're gonna take out more kills before they go. There's the Duskblade of Drakthar to finalize yet another kill there. Maha crushing it down there at the end, much like the Nexus. It'll be a 21-9 victory for MVP and a 2-0 over the Afreeca Freaks to punch their way to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and I mean, MVP, I was a little bit worried that they were going to do the same type of Baron play that almost lost them game number one. But, I mean, from this series alone, I feel like Ed looks a lot better than he did in LCK Summer. He was definitely one of the weak links on the team. And overall, they still do look very, very clean, except for a few hiccups at certain points in the game. And credit to them for winning, and I feel really bad for Afreeca still from that game number one.
I certainly do. After losing that game, at that point, your toast is pretty burnt, and no amount of scraping will remove the black stuff. Thanks, Private Church. That is not a great time, not a great feeling to feel for the Freaks, especially as in their interview they said, well, that's not their goal. Their goal is the finals. They're not making it here this time around. This KeSPA Cup, it's all about MVP moving forward. We'll find out exactly where they do move as their coach is on stage for the group draw. So now we are going to pick MVP's group. They do draw it, and it is Group 6. So that is one of the few remaining empty groups that has yet to be filled. You'll see that bracket up on your screen. It's the MVP populating Group C with only 2 more spots left to be filled. Of course, with very strong teams playing tomorrow, we'll see which teams will fill them. So, question being asked to their coach, it's a very good start for you in this tournament. How do you feel after that 2-0 victory? Saying, it's been a while, so I'm very happy that we were able to come out with a win. So asking, who is our opponent again? And being notified that it hasn't been decided just yet, so we'll have to wait until tomorrow to find out which team it's going to be. Now, regardless of the next opponent, he's saying that he's originally from Haeundae. It's a beach right by Busan, so he's definitely hoping to go back home and get a trip to see the area where he grew up. So what does he think about the comeback victory in set 1? The players are really excited, even him as a spectator saying that he was really excited to watch that comeback. It was a tremendous match, but I'm sure even the players themselves, their emotions must have been much bigger than mine. So that's it for our interview with MVP's head coach after their 2-0 victory over the Afreeca Freaks. That means that we'll be heading over for the MVP interview coming up here just shortly. course, a reminder that tomorrow's matchups will be Samsung Galaxy versus Rising Star Gaming from Challengers Korea, and SK Telecom T1, the two-time defending world champions, versus KEG Chunham, who will have their work cut out for them. Of course, you can find ticket information there at ticketlink.co.kr if you want to come down to the Nexon Arena and watch tomorrow's games or the quarterfinals live here in Gangnam, Seoul, South Korea.